Hello everybody. I am videoing you from beautiful Whidbey Island, from what was the room I mostly grew up in here. I'm here to do a play, and I'm sure talk about that at some point, but this is an interview with Ryan Stride of the Peace Dimension blog. And he wanted to do a written interview, but you know, I like to talk, so we're gonna do both. I'm gonna read it aloud, and then you can visit his blog for the written version and just for other incredible interviews with wonderful people. So check that out, the Peace Dimension blog. I'll have links in the chat as well, or in the description as well. So here we are. This is going to be fun. I just sort of skimmed the questions because I didn't want to be preparing my answers. I want them to be a surprise. So let's do it. This will be fun. He says, "Hello, Amy. Super pleased to be able to do this interview with you for the Peace Dimension. May I begin by asking you how you are faring during this year that some people call 2020, others refer to as that time I slipped into a slightly weird parallel universe." Oh gosh. You know, I've had many experiences where I feel like I'm in a parallel universe, so this one's different for sure. But in general, I tend to pretty much take things in stride and go, okay, how can I grow from these present circumstances? And this is no different. It might be more so, but it's no different. It's something that, you know, I've been in post-production pretty much the entire time for my short film Into Light, which my boyfriend Nipun Nair is almost all of the post-production department. So we've been holed up working on that. And then just pouring myself into the next steps for that project as well. And yeah, it's been a time for a lot of I guess sort of the background work, the preparation work for the next big push with that and for the launch this summer, and then where we're planning to take it for the larger picture. And also a time of a lot of inner reflection for me and inner work, and for me and my partnership too. Gosh, it's just deepened, you know, like nothing will teach you more if you pay attention than just being with one other person for 6 months solid. So that's been incredible. But I'm somebody who I tend to say that my primary job, my full-time job is working on myself anyway. And all of the arts, all of the outlets are functions of that practice. So in some ways it hasn't been that different, but of course I'm definitely taking it all very sincerely and wearing our N99 masks and not really going out except for groceries, and except for coming here very carefully to do this socially distanced, outdoor, only 50 people in the audience play. So I think I'll probably say more about that. It's A Doll's House Part 2, and I play Nora. It's a phenomenal play, and I'm honored to be here, but I was very, very careful with all my wipes and everything, is the long answer. Okay. Has the lockdown experience made you do a lot of soul searching and made you think something really random or drastic, like, actually, forget acting and being a creative artist. I want to be a professional video gamer or a stunt woman or a psychologist. Well, the awesome thing about acting is that I get to be all of those things. Maybe one day I'll play a video gamer. Just this morning I watched an awesome video that I put into my likes. I'm gonna forget his name. But how this gamer was able to use his art to spread awareness about the importance of Black Lives and Black Lives Matter movement and equality. So I love that. And I did actually get to voice a new character in a fabulous game, so that was cool. Psychology is part of my life too. You know, I think part of being an artist for me is about at least once a year questioning everything and really looking at what of this is what I really feel called to be? And are there any parts of what I'm marching towards that are just there to prove something, or there because I think I need to be a certain way? And so I've definitely been able to peel back some layers of, oh gosh, I thought this needed to look a certain way if I'm going to be a real actress. And getting to peel those back. Or, you know, everyone says you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to do that. And I've done it all a really different way than any of the have-tos. But I'm deeply fulfilled every day doing what I love with phenomenal people I'm so inspired by. And especially Into Light, our short film, is a testament to that. It's the highest quality in every department. Everyone working on it is, I'm passionate to be working with, and the purpose of raising awareness of these true stories that were not written in the history books, and being inspired to vote. You know, those are really important things to me. So, and the journey, looking at the journey of equality and how that's been imperfect, but who has really pledged their lives to that journey. So all that to say, in some ways, yes, I've been able to peel back layers of what I thought it was supposed to look like and just go for the ride. So I am what I'm meant to be, and I don't know what that's gonna look like. It's kind of one day at a time. Of course, we all want you to be the Amy who entertains, teaches, and inspires us with your performing skills and passion, in case you needed reminding of that. Oh, so sweet. And he's English, so maybe I get to do that when I'm reading. So what plans do you have on the horizon? Well, I knew there would be a time when I could talk about this play. Probably none of you will get to see it. Maybe some of you will if you're in the Washington area and you're very well suited up with your masks and can come to Whidbey Island for the first 2 weeks of August. I wish everybody could see it. We probably won't be able to film it because of, you know, getting the rights to do it. Usually doesn't include that. So, but it's so timely. And apparently the projects that keep coming to me are about women's history and which is all of our history, really, and empowerment. And this is set, it's a sequel to A Doll's House, written by Lucas Nath. It won 9 Tonys a few years back. And it's a really potent, timely project, and I have an incredible cast that I'm working with, and director, and so yeah, that'll be an adventure. And then I'm so honored and thrilled that we've dropped the teaser so far for Into Light. I'll put it at the end of this so you can see. And then the trailer will be coming out in a couple weeks here, and then in August we will be launching, and we're looking at a really cool way to launch this as a celebration of the centennial of women being on paper that we have the right to vote and are included in the all people that our Constitution was created to protect and honor. So yay, stay tuned for that. Those are kind of the main things. I'm also working on a poetry book that, you know, collecting all the poems that I've been writing all my life, and I'm doing it in a way where you'll be able to, I'm handwriting them on one page, and then on another page I'm typing them out. So I'm speaking that aloud so that I will continue to finish it. And then, yeah, and then there's a larger picture of what we're aiming to do with Inez Milholland's story. She's the one that Into Light is about. You can learn more at intolightofficial.com. Yeah. And then I've got some other things coming out that hopefully I'll be able to announce when I'm able to. Well, that will definitely be able to announce when I'm able. Okay. Now, if I may just focus on your voice talents for a moment. When I saw you do the 21 accents on your YouTube channel, what I noticed was that before each accent, your whole facial structure seemed to change, especially your eyes. Interesting. Would you say that the way we can adjust our facial muscles can have a strong effect on our mind? Wow. on our mind. Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's probably been, I know there's been a lot of research on how when you smile, it's really hard not to feel happy, and vice versa. So yeah, I would say so. In fact, for me, that's really why, when I'm feeling different ways, I might just drop into a different accent. Of course, you know, particularly for things like, some kind of New York accent, or as you know, if you've been following my stuff, sometimes I just wake up in a character and I gotta just record it. It's been less lately because I'm pouring everything into these big projects, so I've had less of that creativity for the short one-off pieces, but yeah, if I'm in a particular mindset, then it will make more sense to me to just, you know, drop into some kind of accent. And so I think conversely, if I'm feeling those, well, yeah, okay. So if you have a lot of jaw tension, that's gonna make you feel tense, and it's gonna make probably you who are watching me feel pretty tense too. So if I'm talking through my teeth, even if I'm talking about how much I love everything and I'm so comfortable, we're not going to feel very comfortable. So I think it definitely influences your mind. I could talk about that forever. With each accent you would do, it seemed that not only your facial expression and manner would change, but also your whole character. I was trying to figure out how much of that was based on the emotion and traits you were projecting into each persona. Interesting. And how much of that was based on my own experiences and perceptions, good catch, of those accents and regions. Seems our accents are embedded with history, our ancestors' journeys, and much more. Could you share your thoughts on all of this? I could. How many hours do you have? Okay, so there was a lot to unpack there. Your whole character. So this is interesting. I mean, this goes to what is a character, really? You know, as you may know, I went to university in Australia. I lived there for 1.5 years, the University of Wollongong. Yay, the gong, go the gong. And I spoke in an Australian accent because that was easiest for me and made most sense, but I wasn't being a character. I was being me, you know, and I was never hiding anything. If somebody was like, oh yeah, did you grow up in Sydney or Melbourne? And I'd be like, oh no, Seattle. And they're like, you don't have an accent. I wasn't like, yeah, I grew up in Sydney, you know, but just like when you go to France, you speak Français, you know. And of course I would do my best to speak whatever language to say, you know, where's the bubbler instead of the drinking fountain, once I'd learned that a drinking fountain is a bubbler. So that's just communication, really. So for me, I think the difference for me is that I've made it a practice of getting so comfortable in whatever accent it is that I'm just me in that accent. And then if I am further going into a character, I can take all the parts and the bits and pieces of myself, now we're Kiwi, and rearrange them so that when my same light shines through, it looks. And I got a call. So I was just saying that first I make it feel like me and be super comfortable, and then if I need to further shape that into a character, I'll just shape the bits and pieces, and then, you know, then it looks different. Yeah, so I was trying to figure out how much of that was based on the emotion and traits you were projecting into each persona, and how much of that was based on my own experiences and perceptions of those accents and regions. And I love to play with this, I really do. That's why a lot of my characters, you'll notice, have some of my own personal linguistic pet peeves. Like Tiffany with an A-Y, why? Because it's better. She's got vocal fry and uptick, and plus also too as well. That's another one. Things like I'm which, what is that? How many vowels can you put into a non-word? I don't know a lot. So for me, I like to play with how I perceive accents and the content. You know, my first Tiffany video, she was talking about quantum physics, which I read a lot about, and was particularly at that time. So I thought, what would it be like if we're hearing this content come from somebody who sounds like this and like is tossing her hair versus somebody who sounds like a, you know, like your professor at Oxford. So yes, that is part of the art, is how do you perceive that? And what do you learn about yourself and your perceptions or projections through that? And then it's also mine, you know, I'm playing with my layers there. So there's a lot of layers. Ogres have layers. Okay, seems our accents are embedded with history, our ancestors' journeys, and so much more. Can you share your thoughts on all of this? Yeah, for sure. And I did recently make a couple of videos where I'm unpacking that personally for my accent and voice, and for the inherent bias in the idea of a general or standard accent. So you can look more at those too. But I agree. I think a lot of that is passed down. A lot of that is absorbed in our culture. And there are parts that are embodied in the sounds of an accent, you know, that are universally felt a certain way. And just like a rumor or just like a stereotype, some of that might be based on a past truth or experience or ethos, but that doesn't mean that it applies now. You know, there's just a lot of layers, as we were saying. One terrific actress who has conveyed various accents, particularly in the popular series Killing Eve, where she plays an assassin, is Jodie Comer. In the show, she does everything from French to Russian to Italian. Would you ever like to play a character like that on screen who has a need and an ability to switch accents and manner so smoothly? Yes! I haven't seen that show yet. I need to. Yes, the two areas that I love the most as an actor are, you know, somebody who's switching seamlessly, and somebody who is, I love a biopic. So if I have to be very specifically one person and study them like the nerd that I am, and really hone in on their particular way of moving and sounding and viewing the world, I love that. I love them all. Okay, you've used your voice talents in various computer games, including Fallout 76. And also the voice of a character called Lunara in the game Heroes of the Storm. So speaking of assassins, oh right, from the other. I looked this up, and Lunara seems to be a green-haired centaur-like creature who is an assassin. Oh, I don't know that I would quite characterize her as an assassin. Amy, how do you prepare for a character like this? Well, Lunara was described to me by the director as the thorn who protects the rose of the forest, that she is a protector of the forest. And as a vegan, I can get behind that, and I think that's really cool, you know? Yeah, roses have thorns, and they protect the rose, and she is super fun. I think an assassin is more like somebody who's hired to kill somebody else, and my understanding of the game is that that is not an accurate description of her character. And my character in Fallout 76 is a robot nanny, and she tells she's not an assassin, of course. She is actually, I have many characters in that in Fallout 76. They are a hairdresser, they are all in the, how would I say, the service roles, but the nanny is probably the biggest character I play in that game, and she tells many stories that always turn back around to her, the company that made her. So she's very fun, very funny, and not an assassin at all, in my understanding, unless there's something that did not tell me. But how would I... That role, I didn't even remember auditioning for that role, and she wasn't French if I did audition. I looked and looked and looked. I showed up and they said, by the way, she's French. And I went, excellent. So yeah, they tend to be very secretive about games. And tell you pretty much nothing. Pretty much nothing. You'll get a description, assuming it's something you did audition for. You'll get a description about this big, and then you'll come in and then you'll learn about the world. You often don't even know what game you're auditioning for because they'll be very secretive. Yeah. There seems to be this interesting crossover where gaming companies or even live animation productions make use of the talented film actors and actresses bringing to life their gaming characters. Mark Hamill, who, although most famous for playing Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars films, has become especially well known as a voice actor. Are you familiar with Mark's work? Not super. I need to go look him up now. Of course, Luke Skywalker, and I follow him on social because I think he's brilliant and funny and has a good point of view. But yeah, I've not really. So, yay Mark! I will check you out more. Performers often devote a lot of time to preparing the body for certain film, TV, or stage roles. Are there any mind, body, or physical training routines you like to use, such as yoga, Pilates, or breathing techniques? Yeah, I have several. I like to run. I like to do trail running. I do yoga. It kind of comes in waves. I've had times where I did it every day, and I'm getting more into Qigong. I think if there's a role that requires a certain particular regimen of some, or, you know, relationship to certain kinds of food or a body, then you can create that for that. A couple that come to mind are when I played, what was her name? Irena Sinkova, in I Never Saw Another Butterfly. She was in the internment camp Terezin, and I had no real experience with rationing. And so I spent 3 days, I walked from this house, actually. I had a backpack and a trench coat and just the clothes on me. And I had a piece of bread, I think a hard-boiled egg, 1 carrot, 1 square of chocolate. And I think that was it. And water. And I walked from here to the ferry, which is, I don't know how many miles, several. It's a 15-minute drive, so it took a while. And then I took the ferry to the bus, and then I took the bus to the train in Seattle, and I took the train down as far as it would go in Oregon. And I spent 3 days not having a place to stay, and I was rationing just that food. So it's a different thing when you are fasting. I've fasted for, you know, I don't know, a week or 10 days for different spiritual things and as a cleanse and as to get more clear and connected. But fasting is really, when you know you're not going to eat anything, it's really different than if you have this much food and you have to take a little bite of it and then put it away. That's harder. To my mind, that's harder. So, and then not having a place to stay, I thought, oh, I'll just sleep in the train station. But they closed it. And it rained. And all of the soups were taken. So, there's my parents downstairs, if you hear that. So it was scary and weird and fascinating to walk the streets and have people look at me like I was like I was homeless, which for those few days I was. I remember because it was raining so hard, I went into an IHOP and I was only allowing myself herbal tea, and the only tea they had was chamomile, which I used to like, but after 6 cups, I can't. It just makes me jiggle. So yeah, but I do abs and arms, and I have certain things that I don't eat. But then if I need to, I haven't had anything where I was in like a Marvel movie yet, so I haven't had to do a big, huge training thing, but I did do mixed martial arts for my first 2 years in LA, and I like getting into a different way of being in my body. So yeah, I'm open to it. I love it. And the other thing was when I played Helen Keller in The Miracle Worker, I spent a year, blindfolding myself, practicing going outside, and I still, if the lights go out, I don't turn them on. I still just love to feel my way around things and trust that I know where my toothpaste is, and I would play piano blindfolded and stuff. So I like getting into my body in different ways. Okay. Earlier we discussed about accents and their connection to character, or at least the perception of character. Do you find that when you apply certain accents, you start thinking or behaving in a way that's different to your normal everyday self? Absolutely. When I'm honest, those are all improvised. And when I'm watching, I'll watch them back and I don't remember. I'll string words together. I would never string together as Amy, but I watch them and there's facial expressions I'd never seen myself make before. There are trails of that I'd never had before. I don't know where they come from, but it seems to me that there are frequencies, or there are, energetic patterns that are certain, where like a character exists, there are thought patterns that exist that I will tap into. And when I'm in that, I'm not deciding, I'm just allowing. And it's the same for me, like when I played Nancy in Oliva. Every time before that show nearly did me in. I sprained my ankle. I got so sick. It was the only time I ever was not able to come on stage. For I think 2 shows, I completely lost my voice, and it's a musical. But I would meditate each time and ask that the women whose stories resonate with Nancy's, that they would, live in me, that I would be able to tell their story. And I needed to understand what it was like to be in an abusive relationship and what the psychology was for her. I'm sure every relationship is different, but what was the psychology for her? Why did she stay? Why did she feel so strong staying? So the question was, do you find that when you apply certain accents, behaving a certain way, it's different? So I'll meditate, just like I do when I'm doing the character or celebrity sketches, and I'll feel like I'm in a different thread of action than when I'm me, than when I'm the ones that I choose to cultivate as myself. We can be anything, we can respond in any way, but those thoughts and responses that I've chosen to cultivate as Amy are different from these other energetic patterns, to describe it in science. Okay, I show people how using meditation techniques can really help in so many different ways, especially during difficult times like 2020. I mention a lot more about this book in my book, The Peace Dimension. Oh, cool. You seem like a very positive person. So, Amy, what helps you gain your sense of hope and get your energy to a good place? That's a great question. I do meditate daily, at least in the morning and almost always at night too. And last night it was really long for me because I had this anger about somebody who had betrayed me in a project, and I couldn't go to bed angry. I needed to get to a place of compassion and forgiveness and understanding with this person. And so I stayed with it until I could feel in my heart and really truly believe, and I do, that everyone is doing the best they can and that I don't know their circumstances. And as much as it's not okay to behave in this way that this person did, and I needed to be, and my partners and I needed to be very clear about how we were going to move forward with that, I needed to do it from a place of love and respect and still believing in the best, and that this person will make the honorable decision. So, you know, that for me is invaluable. I have to be at that peaceful place within myself, because when I'm not, it just sucks. It just sucks. And my boyfriend was really helpful too in illuminating some things about how to go about that, and so I made sure, anyway, I don't need to get into the whole thing, but you know, just surrounding myself with good people who keep me really honest with myself, talking about things before I make a big decision or a reactive decision, and meditating on things so that I feel that I'm not just stuck in my little view of it, but I can really release any of that pent-up energy. That, and, you know, exercise and all the practices we did before are really helpful. Watching inspiring films and television are very helpful for me. I'm watching Mrs. America right now, which is phenomenal. Reading, I love Penny Pierce. She's one of my favorites. I'm reading Transparency again because it's phenomenal. I love The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. All of those books are phenomenal. Many books are helpful. Writing, sharing. Yeah, those are some things.
Please, at least wait for the doctor. They said he'd be here.
Don't you think that women want to make these things different just as much as men do?